So in this video we're discussing how to solve systems using matrices. We're going to have two examples. The first example is going to have two equations and two variables. The second example is going to have three equations and three variables. But just keep in mind that this method would work for solving a system with as many equations and as many as variables as you could desire. So the size is not an issue here. Alright, so first things first, we notice we've got two equations and two variables. We're using x and y. The very first thing you have to do in your system is make sure that your variables line up. So I have my x's lining up with x's, y's lining up with y's, and I have my constants on the right hand side. This is like we discussed in class the other day. So now we can make what's called an augmented matrix. The first row represents the first equation, and the second row represents the second equation. Here, since my variables are x and y's, the first column is going to be for my x's, the second column is going to be for my y's, and this third column is for my constants that were on the right hand side of our system. So you notice now that I have, in the first equation there, the coefficient was 2, so that is the first element that I put in my matrix. The coefficient of the y's was 2, so I put that in, and then my constant was 0, so putting that into the matrix. It's pretty easy. And then the same idea, we have 2 x's, 3 y's, and 10 for our constant, so we put that in for our second row. So now that we have this matrix, and I'm going to call this matrix A because we always need a name when we use our calculators, I'm going to go ahead and put this matrix in my calculator. So pull that up, go to second matrix like we've already discussed in the previous video, and go ahead and put this matrix in. So I'm just going to call this matrix A. It has 2 rows and 3 columns, and I actually already have put this matrix into my calculator. So now let's go back to the main screen. So second quit. And we want to be able to use what's called the row reduction method to solve this system. So I'm going to go into my matrix menu, so second matrix, and I want to scroll over one time to the right to the math menu. And we're going to go all the way down to option B, as in boy. And we're going to go RREF. That's the option we want to use. There's different options you can do for your calculator, but this is probably the most efficient one. So now that we have that pulled up, we want to pull up the matrix that we're interested in. So matrix A, which represented our system that we're interested in solving. Close your parentheses and hit enter. And this is it. You have the answer now. So remember, our first column discussed the x's. Our second column was for our y's, and then our third column was for the constants. So what this says is that x is equal to -10 and y is equal to +10. Okay, and we can verify what we've got going. Verify these answers by substituting these values back into our system, and we would get true statements. Okay, so now let's go on and try a system using 3 variables and 3 equations. So the same process here, I have my x's are lined up with x's, y's lined up with y's, z's with z's, and constants all on the right hand side. Now you might notice that here, like so in the second equation, I have no z, so I just went ahead and put in a 0 as a placeholder. So we can go ahead and make our augmented matrix just like we've done before. The first column is going to be for x's, second column is going to be for y's, third column for z's, and this fourth column is going to represent our constants. Each row represents the corresponding equation in our system. So for instance, in the second equation, I had 2 x's, -1 y's, 0 z's, and my constant was 0. So again, I'm going to call this, we have to name this matrix, I'm just going to call it matrix B. So let's first put this in our calculator. So second matrix, go over to edit, and we want to edit matrix B. We have, counting our constants, it was a 3x4 matrix, 3 rows, 4 columns. And I've actually gone ahead and entered this information into my calculator. So if you have not done that already, you want to take the time to be sure to do that. Alright, so now let's go back to the main screen, clear out what we have, and we want to pull up that row reference, just like we just did in the previous example. So second matrix, go to the math menu, and we're selecting option B as in boy again. Okay, so row reference option B. And this time we're interested in matrix B. So we want to pull that up, just like we've done previously. Close your parentheses and hit enter. So what this means here is that my x is equal to 0, my y is equal to 0, and my z is equal to 0. And that's how you solve systems using matrices. It makes life a lot easier for us.